Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It is still in the description below. It is still your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please email me for pricing. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing the Laurent Ferrier Classic Micro-Rotor, a watch launched well over a decade ago as the Gallet Micro-Rotor. There are no substantive changes. It's the same spectacular watch it's ever been. The watch in stainless steel also gives you independent watchmaking cool and high horology refinement without having to pay a precious metal premium. So in steel, 40 millimeters in diameter by 11.6 millimeters thick, from lug tip to lug tip, 47.2 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw this watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you can see the watch wears well. It's nowhere near the edges of my wrist, and you can see that really well down the barrel. From over the top, it always exaggerates the width of the watch, and because I'm pulling it down tightly, it also makes it look more constricting than it is. It's actually an easy watch to wear. As you can see, I've got clearance on either side of my wrist, so I believe you could wear this watch well on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. Plus, steel is a fairly lightweight material for watchmaking. The strap is luxurious. On the bottom, Alcantara, a super premium suede that's used on the touch points of high-performance sports cars. Think seat inserts, shift knobs, and steering wheels. It's also a very expensive headliner material, and oftentimes on luxury cars, if they're super expensive, they'll come with it. If they're merely expensive, it'll be an option. Now you can see that on the top, we have this lovely sort of saddle-colored leather. Don't worry about that. That's just a little piece of glue. And I'm not even sure that it's saddle-colored. It's almost beige, almost cream colored. And these are large rectangular scales, so a high-grade cut of the animal. There's a lightly contrasting white stitch, and you can see a folded edge wrapping around to the back in the Alcantara. And then we have a full clasp, which is a rare feature on Laurent Ferrier watches. Even when precious metal, even when flagships, they tend to be equipped with pin buckles. So having this spring shut clasp, single fold, it's extra protection against dropping the watch. You can even see that the edge of the buckle is designed somewhat to echo the shape of the lugs. Now this is a friction fit system. You can see there's a spring and there's an aperture, and they snap together just like that. The gallet, or smoothed pebble, is the dominant idea, the controlling thought behind the design of the case. It's the idea of a pebble smoothed over eons in a bubbling stream. And so it's a soft type of approach to case design that gives it this voluptuous, sumptuous, curvaceous appeal. All of the creases are soft creases, so while there are character lines, they're subtle. You can see the domed bezel flows into the case band. We have a little bit of a teardrop undertucked to the lugs, and everything in steel is polished. Laurent Ferrier is an old school watchmaker, and old school means that crowns would often be onion-shaped and unbranded, and so this one is. We have a dramatically cambered sapphire, not a cheap piece by any means, as cambered sapphires tend to be more expensive, and then dial in opaline that is non-gloss black. The hands, as well as the indices, are made of white gold, 18 carats, so they will never tarnish, fade, oxidize, or cloud. And then we have a small countersunk seconds hand that sits on top of a concentric pattern. Laurent Ferrier Genève. Turn it all over. We have caliber FBN 229. We have Ferrier, Barbacini, and Navas. FBN. Ferrier, that's self-evident, but Barbacini and Navas are the founders of La Fabrique du Temple Louis Vuitton, and that is the high-end watchmaking division of Louis Vuitton. They are full equals to the likes of, for example, Audemars Piguet Renault Papy or Grubel Forsey's Completime. In other words, they do incredible things. There was a prior relationship between Ferrier, Barbacini, and Navas, so they were brought in to do the basic computer-assisted design and component fabrication of this watch. Not so much the watch itself, but the movement. As a result, you get a movement that's far more sophisticated than what Laurent Ferrier could have created on its own. Now you can see here we have a snapback case, 30-meter water resistance. We have a 22-karat gold ratchet rotating, silent, jeweled staff, winding rotor, 72 hours of reserve off a single barrel because we have an ultra economical, double direct impulse natural style escapement like Breguet's 1802 natural escapement. You can see there are two nickel escape wheels. They have little columns on their edge. You can only see one of them here. There's a corresponding one across from it. So there is no Swiss lever here. The escape wheels impulse the balance directly, striking the roller jewel only in its direction of motion, so all of the reversal of the balance is done by the overcoil hairspring, not by a lever. As a result, you have better timekeeping, longer power reserve, and reduced maintenance requirements. If you look very carefully, you can see sort of an iridescent purple object in there. That's the blocker that locks the wheel that is not currently impulsing. This beats away at 3 Hertz. It does have the overcoil hairspring, so with a centered mass in any position, that hairspring is going to allow the watch to keep very precise time. It's free sprung for durability as well as precise adjustment, and the adjustment is in 6 positions, one more than a standard chronometer. It is exacting. All this pivots on 35 joules. When I was talking about the rotor before, you can see it's been cut beautifully on a lathe, but it has a ratchet system with pawls and springs, and then it pivots on a jeweled staff, so not having bearings or a click, it is very quiet. It's almost imperceptible. It's really hard to hear it moving, and you absolutely cannot feel it moving. Finish here is world class, maybe just short of what you get from Grubel Forsey and Romain Gauthier and Langenteine. We have stripes across the bridges, and they're of exceptional quality. You can see the bevels on the bridges are a mile wide and finished beautifully. What does Ferrier do in-house? Well, Ferrier creates the basic design of the watch, specifying the parts and the parameters of the design. It then receives the parts from Fabrique du Temps and then finishes them in-house, assembles them in-house, and regulates them in-house. So this finishing truly is Ferrier's own. You can see how beautiful those bevels are, not just on the edge of the bridge, but also in the jewel sinks. All screw heads are black polished with chamfered slots in circumference. We have a black polished and skeletonized steel half bridge for the balance, and you can see those internal bevels give us 1, 2, 3, 4 sharp interior creases where bevels meet. A lot of times even very high-end brands will give up on interior bevels within tiny constrained spaces like this. Ferrier taking no shortcuts. You can also see that the bridge for the winding rotor is in steel. It's black polished, so called because from any angle except the one reflective angle, it will appear as though the metal is black. And then you can see on the sides it's been beveled as well as the bridges themselves, with engine turning on the base plate, satination, and even a little bit of internal beveling on the wheels. And then you can see engine turning in several sizes on the base plate, so a lot to love. If you love this watch, so do I. I don't understand why Laurent Ferrier doesn't have a years-long waiting list. Compared to what else is out there, this would be in the top 5, maybe even top 3 independent brands for quality of product, finish, and value. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.